Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Salam, namaste. My name is Anwar Raza. I'm the president of South Asian Libertarian, and we are hosting this event under the topic of terrorism as state policy. We have excellent panel today to discuss the topic, but I'll take a few minutes to introduce what we are talking about. 1984, George Orwell said, the objective of terrorism is terrorism. The objective of torture is torture. The objective of power is power. Now, do you begin to understand me? So, apparently, even George Orwell had confusion about this. It's not easy to understand what we are talking about. So, what is a deep state policy of terrorism? And what is the example of it? So naturally, if you follow news and have been doing that for years, you will know that there is a country called Pakistan. It has a deep state, and it came into being in 1947. And right from the beginning, when 30% of the assets of British Army were transferred to Pakistan, a garrison state, a lookout for the imperialists, came into being a country. Now, a lot of people joke, and I'm sure you have heard that every country has an army, and Pakistan in Pakistan, army has a country as a Pakistan. So it's not just a joke, it is a truth. So Pakistani state, deep state, comprises of three components. One is Pakistani intelligence. Second is their civilian and politician helpers who cooperate with them. And the third is mullahcracy, the religious organizations, militant organizations. All three of them work together. And their objectives are all same. Once in a while, they may fight with each other, but basically their objectives are, very briefly could be described, to keep Pakistan in perpetual fighting state. And they want to portray victim all the time. They have been doing that for 70 years. And then treat India as an arch rival, a threat. So when you have this base, then you come up with dispute after dispute. One of them is Kashmir. Kashmir dispute has been going on for 70 years. Totally fake and cooked up, sexed up dispute. We'll talk about, our panel will be discussing that. And then the state uses militant as a proxy. That is their strategic use. And because they feel that it's cheaper to hire a bunch of unemployed religious people from the early age, from 16, 15 years of age, and send them to fight for you, bleed India for you, and you sit back and make money. You build plazas and palaces and all those defensive housing societies. Every Pakistani general retires as a billionaire in Pakistani rupees. Some of them move out and buy palaces, buy empires. One of them is Pizza Empire here in the USA. There is a General Kayani having a island in Australia. General Musharraf, tons and tons of money. And then we heard about General Akhtar Malik in a recent report. He was reported to accumulate millions of dollars in Swiss banks. There's no end to it. So we'll be discussing that. We are short on time, but we know the major part of this deep state or the state itself is spent in covert operations. They did covert operations in Afghanistan. In the beginning, it looked like this is a freedom fight, but turned out they were getting money from USA, spending some on militants, and then rest will be pocketed. So this is their bread and butter. This is how they live. And then they have a few other countries who are helping them. China is one of them. And so this is a very, very difficult situation. Internally, their job is to control dissident. They do not want any voices of freedom. They do not want any journalists to speak up. They do not want people in Balochistan to have any information. So that's what the state does. So in my understanding, let me tell you, just like yesterday, a journalist, Waqas Goraya's incident came into news. He's a Pakistani journalist living in exile in Netherlands. He was attacked by a proxy in Netherlands. Folks, hear me, in Netherlands. What they did was they hired another disgruntled religious person, paid him $100,000 and asked him to kill Goraria. Yesterday, that guy was sentenced to 7 years in jail by Dutch authorities. There was a journalist in Sweden who got killed in Sweden. And then who will forget Karima Baloch, our companion, a freedom fighter, a civil rights activist who got killed in Toronto. Does that alarm you? How big reach they have? All they, they have so much reach that the business people here in Houston, where I am, they are dependent on them to do trades. And in return, they accommodate them here in USA. So it's a deep, deep connection. But I have a lot to say, and I'll continue to say throughout the presentation. But before I go to other guests, I see here that, let me introduce you to one of our panelists, a lady who is running for Congress from Virginia, District 11. She's the granddaughter of freedom fighters. Her grandparents fought for freedom along with Gandhiji, and she herself fought discrimination in Ivy League when they were doing that. As a civil rights activist, she fought for those students who did not get admissions in Ivy League. And she had a lot of credentials, a family, and she's running for Congress from Virginia. And her name is Manga Anantmulla. I hope I pronounced the name correctly.
Anantatmula.
So, welcome. It is all yours. Let's talk about the policy of Pakistan, a state policy of terrorism. Thank you.
Namaskar. Salam alaikum. We all know that we all come from the same roots, that is India, and what the Baloch Bhai Bahan and the Gilgits and the Sindhis are going through in Pakistan are no different than what Hindus in India, in the Kashmir Valley, and in other places, and in Bangladesh and Pakistan, they are going through. We are not any different. And we know how, as minorities, we have been subjected to become victims of Pakistani terrorism. We all acknowledge and we all know that we need to put our united fight against the Pakistani state that is promoting terrorism in the globe, and especially in that region trying to destabilize. And I know there are so many Afghanis who are also the victims of the same terrorist state that we are all talking about. And we must stand united to fight any human right violation in any part of the world is something we must condemn and stand and fight against. There is absolutely no second opinion or a stand about this terrorism and global terrorism and trying to destabilize the region. And we all know that India is doing a phenomenal job of protecting the minorities. And I know you are all from the Pakistani background, and that's where your victimization happened. But regardless of where we are in the world, our minority status and victimization of global terrorism is not absolutely justified. And you are doing a right thing, standing up for people who are the victims of terrorism. And I really appreciate, and I have only kudos for heroes like yourself who wants to do it. But then, how do we want to do it is the question. I started as a Hindu activist by accident. I didn't plan to become a Hindu activist, but then I accidentally became a Hindu activist in 2014 when USCIRF, I ran into their annual report. And when I saw what was being written and what was being promoted by this agency against the minority groups is very astonishing. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought I must stand up for my rights and fight. And I was the only person and only woman and only Hindu who started fighting. And I was condemned and seen as a troublemaker, and nobody wanted to join. But it took me a few months to gather a small group of 4 or 5 people. And now we are an army of Hindu activists. We will never stop just because we are condemned. Right now, today, we are being condemned because we want to stand for our human rights and human dignity, and we will not let this happen. And I have realized in my activism of so many years, I have knocked so many doors. I have tried to reach so many congressmen and senators. Yes, there's only so much they can do for us because they don't know our history. They don't know the history of that region. And this is the time in the United States, even if most Republican congressmen and women, they want to help us, their hands are tied themselves because they are being labeled as white supremacists. They are being labeled as racists. So there is little they are able to do for us, even though they understand we need their support. I think it's almost time that we minorities are their future and their group of people that will be protecting even their interest. Now the times have changed that we want to knock on other people's doors because we have taken a position in this world, in this country, that we have to also stand up for the white people in this country. Because anything good they want to do, they are being labeled as white supremacists. Their hands are tied also. We must stand up even for the white, patriot, conservative population of this country. The only Democratic Party that we all know is the enemy of human rights that's happening in any part of the world. It has always been the conservatives who protected the freedom and the human dignity of people anywhere in the globe. I'm saying fighting from outside and all this activism is all going into our thin air because we are screaming and people in the soundproof chambers, that is Congress, that is not being heard. From an activist perspective, I have been there, I have done that, but it doesn't mean we must stop doing it. But the only analogy that I would want to share with you is, now this is almost like a football game. We have been on the defense all this time. Time to change the game. The only people who are in the offense will score. Only by scoring, you win a game. You can have the best defense, but the defense is defense. We need offense to win. It's a clear winning strategy to win. Be on offense. And how do we be on offense? We do not have our own representation and voice in the House. How many people do we have as our representatives from our own background who has been the victims of this human rights violation, standing on the House floor, talking for you and me? When I say us, I am not separating Hindus, Sindhis, Gilgits and Baluch and Afghanistan minorities at all. And there are even the Christians from other countries that are minorities and subjected to genocides. We must, and also the Buddhists in Taiwan, we must bring all these minority victims under one roof.
Okay.
Not even a single cause of death of one person is too much. One incidence of death and a victim of terrorism is much. It's too much. We have to stop. We have to count every life that terrorism is taking, and we must stop. The only way we can stop is representing ourselves in the House. We must elect ourselves into the House. That is the only offense I see. One woman in the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Religious Freedom Committee, that is Ilan Omar. If one woman can be on the floor and change the fate of minorities like us, imagine what we would be in a couple of years from now if we did not have our own representation. Either this election in 2022 is going to decide whether we are going to be in offense or going to remain in defense and be victims and continue to be victims. This is the most deciding. I've said this in 2020 that it is a deciding election, and it proved to be true. We have gone from bad to worse. Now from here, it's not going to be worse, but it's going to be non-existence. Are we ready to become non-existent is the question we need to ask ourselves. We all know the answer is no. We are all fighters in this group. We are all wanting to make a dent and wanting to make a difference and wanting to stand up for the dignity of humans and our human rights. So this election is going to be very, very crucial for us. Stop defense, be on offense. The only offense is being on the table and being on the floor and not on their menu. If you're not standing on the floor of the house to give our own narrative, then we are on their menu. The meaning of being on the menu is that means you are already dead. And we refuse to be that dead group. We are that life of the group of victims that we want to stand for together. No religion says it is okay to kill other people. I am sure Islam, good Muslims know that like you. And we want to stop the radical Islamist groups. That is our main target. Like Ilhan Omar and other, CARE is another organization that we have to fight. And I've received several threats from CARE in 2020. I give a damn. They can threaten me as much as they want. I've lived my life. I think I'm good enough to put myself out there to fight for it. If one manga is dead, there'll be hundreds and thousands of manga that will be born, because that is how I want to fight this human rights violation and human rights dignities that's being reduced to nothing and insults.
Manga.
Please support my candidacy, spread the word in the local people for a campaign to win, for a candidate to win. Money drives everything. And for every penny that I got, with a very little money of just with $245,000 that I raised, which is a very, very low amount in 2020, I made my opponent, Gerald Connolly, spend $1.76 million. How much should he have been afraid for the first time to spend that kind of money on his campaign? I'll give him a run. I'll make him realize we are powerful, we are together, and we are up for a huge, big fight to win. And just to let you know, my social media platforms and my website have been hacked and brought down 3 times in the last few months. Maybe in the last 9 months, they have been brought down and hacked 3 times. So how powerful is my fight? Somebody is afraid, and let them be afraid, and let them be in that corner and be afraid, because they know I am creating a movement for minorities. I am creating a movement and a path forward for the minorities. I am making a path into the house for the minorities. Minorities I stand for, and our human dignity I stand for. Please go to mangaforcongress.com, donate. On May 7th, I'm having the primaries with 6 other people, but I'm still the forerunner. Strategy, unity of the minorities, and genuinely fighting for people is what it takes for me to get the nomination. And I'm doing everything that I can in my power and little money that I already had put into my campaign to win. I will be the winner, I'll be the nominee, but I need all your support. Have your people come out. I'll share all the information with Zafarji, and please have all your voting people in Virginia in the 11th district come out and vote on May 7th to make sure to make our voice heard that minorities are the future of this country, and we will not let that go. And we will become the voice, just not for the minorities, for the white community also. Please join my fight, join my movement, and here I am to stand for all of our human dignity. Namaskar. Khuda Hafiz.
Thank you very much, Mangaji, for your thoughts and your support for minorities and for standing up so bravely for us. It is a fight. We have to take it to the halls of Congress. We might need somebody right there in those halls fighting for us. And she is the one who will do it for us. Thank you so much. We'll take a short break. And when we join back, we'll be listening from another freedom fighter, civil rights activist, Zafar Sahito. Break a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.
Anwar Saab, can you hear me?
Zafar, I lost a video. You can take it over.
Okay. Yeah, because I think some issues going on every time they are trying to, create problems here in the webinar. So we have to fight. Like Manga Dedi said, we have to fight and we will continue. We will continue. No problem, whatever it happens. Hello, everyone. My name is Zafar Sato. Can you hear me? Anwarji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Today in second part of Pakistan series, Terrorism is State Policy. We are here together today again to expose Pakistani state unleashing terror against historical nations enchained in slavery of theocratic unnatural Pakistan, and also persecuting religious minorities. I will present today few figures and numbers that since creation of Pakistan, how many innocent pupils' lives has been taken by this fascist state, which is owned by military establishment, is the state policy to terrorize people. Before that, there are two good news. Actually, I want to share with all listeners, and when this video will be on air, mostly the people will watch it. That one of our comrade, colleague, and human rights activist, Professor Notan Kumar, he's in Pakistan jails on the false blasphemy charges. So his case is going to be in Congress. One of US Senator has spoken out about him, and not only about him, but the 300 blasphemy, 300 prisoners which are currently in Pakistani jails on false blasphemy charges. They are fighting for their lives, and there is nothing happening over there about them. No, they are not bringing them to the courts, but hopefully after this bill, after this voice, maybe the lives of these innocent pupils will be saved. The other good news is a bill is submitted in Congress yesterday to declare Pakistan a terrorist state. And because as a terrorist state, Pakistan must be banned, Pakistan must be sanctioned by America. So these are very good news. And as I remember last month when I started this campaign, Sanction Pakistan, 1 month long campaign, I am happy that at least our voice is reaching to the United States offices, and we can hope betterment, more better things hopefully will come. Now, I will give you the list with numbers since 1947, when the Pakistan was created, how this rogue state, how these radical Islamist elements have killed millions of people. I will start from 1947, from Kashmir. When Kashmir was attacked by ISI and their military goons, who are these fundamentalists, Talibans, radical Islamist groups, Jamiat, and they use some tribal people. The number which I got was 20,000. 20,000 innocent Hindus in Kashmir were killed. Same amount of women were raped over there. This is creation of Pakistan. Anwarji, I am talking about creation of Pakistan just after 3 months.
Yes, we know that. And
100,000 people, 100,000 people was total killed over there. Even the Muslims, by these same people who claim themselves Muslim and they say La ilaha illallah, they kill their brothers over there. So it shows that these are not even Muslims. These are just a group, a terror company for their rule, for their power. They can go to anything. They can go to any extent. Okay. After Kashmir, we are coming to Balochistan. In 1948, Balochistan was invaded, and at that time, 13,000 Balochs were massacred. The homes were destroyed, properties was taken, and they killed kids, women, elderly age, everyone. That was 1948. Later on, we are coming to 1971, Bangladesh. They were Muslims, but to continue their rule, West Pakistan, what they did, it is a black chapter of the history. 300,000 innocent people were killed. 300,000 women were raped over there. That is, after creation of Pakistan, means 30 years. Later on, we can see fight in Afghanistan in name of jihad. How many hundreds of thousands people in war on Afghanistan and FATA and tribals, how many people have lost their lives just for the money, just for the these journals. They need power, they need black money. So these innocent people, great Afghan nation, were persecuted. Pashtuns were persecuted. Thousands of people has been forced to leave their homes. Still, they are in different places. If we come today's Balochistan freedom movement, I have number for Baloch missing persons or enforced disappeared people, political workers. That is 8,000. 8,000 Baloch people are missing today on the hands of these state culprits, these journals, these military organizations of Pakistan. Till now, 36,000 Balochs are killed in Balochistan. That is in Balochistan. If we come to Sindh, till now, our 75 leaders, high profile leaders, are extrajudicially killed by Pakistani army and intelligence agencies. Still today, we can see that our hundreds of people are enforced disappeared. They are missing. Just yesterday, I will tell you, one of my colleague, friend, comrade Sati, he was abducted. His name is Asif Shah. He was a human rights activist. He was a social media activist. He was there in Sindh. He is abducted. So not only Asif Shah, but many of like them, whoever is raising their voice against tyranny, against fascism of this military establishment, whose work is just to promote terrorism, is silenced, is abducted, is brutally killed, is executed. So that was the chapter of historical nations which are enchained in slavery of Pakistan. Now we will come on terrorism is state policy, how the minorities are persecuted in Pakistan. I will give you the figures of that one. Every other day, a minor girl is abducted in Pakistan, forced convert to Islam, and married to a older age person. Sometimes they are sent for sex trafficking. In a year, 1,000 girls are abducted every year. Sometimes it is going more. These reports, these figures, I am not talking, or these are not my made. These all figures and facts are there even on the Google, in UN reports, in Amnesty International reports. You can find these things. Every year, 10,000 Hindus are forced to leave Sindh. Every year, 10,000 Hindus are forced to live because their properties, their businesses are given to these Talibans, radical elements, to create more madrasas, to make more young generation a radical mind, who should not use their common sense, just they should follow their pathetic rules. Anwarji, there were 400 temples when the Pakistan was created, and now only 59 temples are remaining in Sindh, in Pakistan. You know why? That is the reason. Because they want to clean. That's why I always call it a genocide, systematic genocide. They have destroyed these all mandirs. They have vandalized or changed to madrasas or changed to mosques, or these temples are just empty now. If we come on Shias, which is also a matter of concern, Shias, Ahmadis, and other religious minorities, I have one number which is like 25,000 Shias, Ahmadis, Sikhs, and other religious minorities. People are killed till now, 25,000 since creation of Pakistan. in which Hazaras are coming, in which Ahmadis, Qadianis are coming, in which Christians and other minorities are there. Okay, if we look only on the figure of blasphemy, the people who are inside the prisons of Pakistan now, currently it is 300. Their number is 300. And one of my friend, when I sent him to go and check their living status, that how they are living in the in which condition they are living in the jails, you can't believe what he told me, what he sent me the message. He said, in a small room, 12 by 12, 20 people are inside that one room. They cannot straighten up their legs. They cannot sleep properly. Only 24 hours they have to sit. We are living in 21st century. What's going on? How these people are, because they just said something against their religion, they are forced to live in a small room for one person. They are sitting 20 persons in a one room. They cannot communicate with world. Nobody is allowed to go and feed them. They are not taking them out because they are afraid that anyone can kill them. So how these 300 innocent pupils will be saved? Really, when I think about on these things, I feel shame that why this world is going so crazy. 300 human lives are suffering in Pakistani jails because of this state terrorism policy. If the actions, if United Nations, human rights organizations, Amnesty International, all human rights defending groups will not talk about these things, who is going to save historical nations, persecuted minorities? This is everyone's responsibility to save the innocent pupils. I am glad, I am so thankful to Mangaji. She spoke very well and she is standing for us. She is standing against the evil forces. I would request to all listeners, my friends, colleagues living in 11th district in Virginia, they should support her. I will support her. I'm going to Washington DC for 23rd March protest. So of course we will meet with all the people over there. And if the voices like her will be in Congress, in Senate, I think lot of can be changed. So I will request my all friends and followers, colleagues in Virginia, who are Baloch, Pashtun, Sindhi, Afghan, Bangladesh, everyone should come forward and vote for Mangaji. And
Zafar.
same time, I will request to Congress to senators that we are all humans. Pakistan was created. Now Pakistan must be ended because the killings, the massacre of hundreds of thousand people should not happen anymore in future. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Zafar, for the insight. While you were talking, I was just itching to share my experience last night. And let me get that out of my chest. I went over to watch Kashmir Files. I know you have already watched it, but they were playing that in a theater in Stafford. And though I was very familiar with with that Kashmir bleeding and how it has happened over last 70 years, but there were some points presented in that movie, and that caught my attention. One of them is that people all over the world talk about Jewish Holocaust, what happened in the 40s, and we all know, what happened in Auschwitz, how a lot of innocent Jews were gassed, killed, and so on. And after that, the Nazis were hunted all over the world. So we know all of this information. The movie asks a question very intelligently, that how come nobody knows about Hindu genocide, about Hindu Holocaust, what happened in Kashmir in the 90s. And I was here in Houston. We did some programs in Rice University a few years later on that issue, but did not get much support. The reason for that is there's not many people who raised their voices, including pundits. They were peaceful people. They just thought that, they were driven out, and they went all over and just kept quiet. There's a scene in the movie where people are talking about, and they say, oh, let's make a rule, no politics, and nothing about that. But this is life. People were being killed. Nobody raised voices, including people in Delhi, people in Washington, people in Moscow, nobody. And this is how this Holocaust happened. So the points to ponder, and being Mangaji here, is this: are we going to be silent spectators? And for how long? We will continue to watch these atrocities done in different parts of the world and keep quiet. And we'll complain about the gas prices and all that. However, we don't know those people who can't even go fetch some water from the nearest well. I'm talking about Kashmir. People who have been left homeless. Nobody talks about that. And how come hundreds and hundreds of religious institutions of a 4th, 6th century religion popping up on the border? Who is financing them? So these are the points to ponder. When is going to stop? These same people, the evil is coming from the same hole. And if we don't know these snakes, they'll come out to bite everywhere. They are doing it. It's not just one place, everywhere. Look at the history. And I'm sure you are familiar, you are well read, you are familiar. Mangaji also know, but this is very, very difficult situation. It's mind-boggling that the powers of the world don't see it. Pakistani state, a terrorist state, has done so much damage to American interests. I remember these journalists are involved in the killing of Americans in Afghanistan due to their dubious policies. They will take money from the State Department, pocket it, and then send Taliban to kill Americans. Honest to God, this is what has been going on for 20 years. I'm glad you left Afghanistan, or we are safe here. But these are the points to ponder. Why a congressman did not raise voice on this corruption? Why we still have an ambassador in Washington, D.C., who has relationship on record with terrorist organization. That Majid Khan in Washington, D.C. has terrorist relationships. And from being from Virginia, we can expect our leader to look at it. When she becomes Congresswoman, she will definitely raise voice about that. And we hope that this will be the bill presented by her. So I thought I shared this with you guys.
Yeah, Anwarji, I got the message from Chris. He got COVID. He's hospitalized. So he sent me the message that I am sorry, I'm not able to join this week. So hopefully coming week he will be with us, or as his health will be good, he will be with us. You raised very good point, Anwarji, that the people like Mangaji and the people who understands the value of human life, the people who understands the dignity of living a good life must come out of their comfort zone and play their role. When I was sharing this data with you, the figures I collected, I forget actually one thing more, is you have said that Pakistani journals and Talibans and these radical Islamist groups not only have persecuted historical nations or destabilized the neighboring countries, attacks on India, attacks in Afghanistan, but you are right, hundreds of thousand people around the world are killed. And who is behind them? You are right. They are taking money from IMF, they are taking money from Europe, they are taking money from USA, and that same money is used to kill their people. Pakistan has sponsored terrorism. What do you think? How many American soldiers, our brothers, our sisters, have killed during that operation in Afghanistan or war on terror in Pakistan? Hundreds people, thousands people have, these soldiers are killed. And Pakistani army was a safe haven that time. Even now, that time Osama bin Laden was there, Haqqani groups was there. Even now, Haqqani groups are there, Hafiz Saeed is there. These all, Hafiz Saeed is most wanted terrorist around the world, and he's living a comfortable life in Pindi and Islamabad, like he is General of Pakistan. So you are right. US, deep state, State Department, foreign policy, even European foreign policies and government, UK, they must think on these things, that why still they want to Pakistan be in existence, when Pakistan and its state sponsor terrorism is killing not only Americans, Europeans, Canadians, UK people, NATO forces, still hundreds of thousand terrorist groups are there in Pakistan. And US know, agencies know.
41,000 is the number. 41,000 terrorists trained by Lashkar-e-Taiba.
Lashkar-e-Taiba. Okay, I will give you one more figure. You will be surprised that at the time of creation of Pakistan, I think there was only 13,000 madrasas in Sindh, occupied Sindh. Now, within span of 10, 15 years, they have established, they have made 40,000 madrasas. 40,000 madrasas. For what? And these all madrasas are on the border of India, mostly.
I know it.
Yeah, mostly these all madrasas are on. So that's why last time I had one TV show with one channel from India. So I said them that when I think it was August, I said them that when these Talibans, I supported terrorist groups, invaded Afghanistan, they start shouting in Pakistan also that our next stop will be Delhi. Our next stop will be Delhi. So creating these madrasas, 40,000 madrasas, if you just make like 20, 30 kids in each madrasa, how many radical minds and these elements are going to be ready within 4 or 5 years? It is
Yep.
really a matter of concern.
Right.
Not only for India, but it is really a matter of concern for whole world. That if one terrorist like Osama bin Laden, or one terrorist like Haqqani group, like one terrorist or a radical ISIS person can kill hundreds of people, hundreds of thousand people, then how about if these 50, 60,000
It is the state
radicals?
policies of her. And
It is a state policy. Yeah,
right,
it
because
is a state
they
policy.
want to use these young minds to prepare for war, and this is
Yeah.
all they will know. They will grow up to be just killers. That's it. They don't know anything
Hmm.
else, and they have no skills to be able to make any living. And this is all they will do, and it is systematic. Remember, in the beginning, I told and that there are three components. It is one of them: Islamization, radicalization, and what about that guy in Mitti? There is a
Yeah.
there's a clergyman, Miyamiti. Tell me about that. You know what that guy is doing in the and is right there in the sitting there in the city. He's converting single-handedly Hindu girls after kidnapping them. A Hindu girl get raped and then brought up to his shrine, and this guy does the nikah with the rapist. Can anybody hear me? This is
Yeah,
happening in
Anwar.
21st century.
Hmm.
And it is shown on TV that with pride, the pride that I have converted one more Hindu girl, and people clap. How
Hmm.
ironic, how disturbing that is. And nobody complains. And there is Amish Kumar, their leader, from the higher caste in the Sindh. You know him. Amish
Yeah.
Kumar, right?
Ramesh.
Ramesh, yeah, Ramesh Kumar, who is making deals with Mitti. How that
Yeah.
is? How in the world these things will happen? I can't believe this.
Anwarji, it is not Mithi. His name is Mia Mithu, and he's a some people say that he is ISI colonel, but hidden one, like he's on their payroll. So he has the target to provide entertainment for the other journals and colonels. So what they do, they abduct these poor girls of my country, of my motherland. They took them, they sent them sometimes to Islamabad, to Pindi, to different places for their entertainment. and later
Tourism.
these girls are bring back to their
Human
villages,
trafficking.
and yeah, and these girls are then married to someone for 10,000, 15,000 rupees to a 50-year, 60-year older age. So Miami 2 is their main, you can say, one element, important element. He has security, which is same like a colonel general. Whenever he roams in the city or goes any place, he always have that military, security provided by Pakistani intelligence agencies. So he is actually their colonel, but in civil dress. And
Zafar Saab and
there,
Anwar Saab, let me interrupt you. I have an emergency in my campaign. I have to immediately rush to put that fire off. And thank you so much. Namaskar and Khudafiz. And I will always remain in contact with you folks. Always, please feel free to reach out to me. And Mr. Ron, who is in this meeting, I work very closely with him. And anything we are discussing now, I'll definitely catch up meeting with Ranji, and please give me let me take leave, and Khudafiz and Namaskar.
Mangaji, we are really happy that you were with us today, and hopefully we will see you in the Congress soon. And I will be coming to Washington DC, and I will meet you
Please,
up over
when
there.
you come to Washington DC, please let me know, and I would definitely want to stand with you. And because this is our human dignity, this is our fight, not anybody in one single person's fight. Let me reassure you that I am always going to be there for you, and it will never be anything different than I have promised. So
we are also with you. We are also with you. Don't worry.
Thank you. And please keep supporting me, and please have your folks support me, and let me take leave. Namaskar and Khudafiz.
Namaskar. Ji, Anwar ji.
So
Anwar ji, I told you that Mr. Chris, he got COVID, and he sent me just a message few moments ago that he was not able to come because he went to hospital. So hopefully we will listen him next week, or maybe the coming next week. And this one more, our friend Mr. Afridi, he is in Geneva, I think, for some protest or something. So I was trying to get him on, but is still not able. So if you have that report files or photos which you made about today's about today's webinar, you can share, and you can show the audience that what are the things going in history, and what is going on now, and what will be our future plans.
okay. Anyone else has questions? Okay. Seems like nobody has anybody online right now.
Hello.
Yes.
It's my question. It's regarding the question of what the impact of the Russia and Ukraine war you can see in Indian subcontinent method. What is your opinion in that?
Are you asking me, or?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Means, what is your opinion? Because last night we have got the news that the one missile was fired mistakenly by the Indian army. So this kind of the impact, and the one of the terrorist has been killed in Karachi by some unknown people. But the news is that that guy has created some terrorist attacks in India in late 90s. So India is taking some kind of the revenge on the side. So there is a rumor, maybe a rumor, but the news is like that. So do you think there will be some impact of that? Because all
Well,
these news are coming after the UN Russia war.
right. I can share that. I'm sorry, I don't. Let me bring up the screen here. In my personal capacity, I feel that the the human life is important. Beside having political issues and differences, what's happening in Ukraine is very alarming. In the end, if a pregnant woman is being injured by shelling, we got to protest that. If a soldier who has been sent out, I mean, this is my personal opinion, now South Asian liberation, since you asked, and we are out of session. So far, are we done with with the the topic?
Yeah, I think our topic, which was today's, is policy of state terrorism. So we are done with that, and we can finish now the recording mode, and then only if there is any questions or any discussion we can, because we got more